Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Brainz podcast. On today's episode, I'm joined by the one and only Dean Graziosi for a really honest, motivating, and timely conversation about growth, mindset, business, and why now is the time to stop waiting and just start moving. I personally really love this conversation because I think Dean brings such a grounded perspective to success. He talks about how AI is changing the way we learn, the way we build businesses and share our expertise. But he also goes much deeper than that. We really get into how his early life experiences shape the way he thinks about money, ambition, and possibility, how to move on from survival mode into growth, why bold actions matter more than waiting to feel, 100% ready, and how the people around us can either expand or limit what we believe is possible for ourselves. What I really enjoyed is that this episode is full of practical perspective shifts. Dean shares why resourcefulness beats resources, why action creates clarity, and how to really stop letting fear disguise itself as perfectionism, and how to start trusting yourself enough to take that next step even before you have all the answers in place. So I reckon after listening to this, I think you'll walk away feeling more, I hope you'll feel more encouraged, more clear, and more ready to get back to yourself. And you'll learn how to reframe fear, use AI in a much more meaningful way, build momentum through your actions, and stop playing small when clearly there's more in you. So let's dive into that episode.
Let's just do it. Let's just do it.
Okay, then. So to kick off, AI is obviously one of the biggest conversations happening right now in business and has been for a few years. Some people might see it as a bit of a threat, while other people are excited about the opportunities that come with it. From your perspective, Dean, how do you think AI is changing the way people can learn, build businesses, and share their expertise today?
Yeah, first off, great question. And it's good to be here with you. I love what you guys do. And I know the work you put in to have the outcome that you have. I know the work that must go in behind the scenes. So I know this is the first time I'm meeting. I just want to say great work on everything you're doing and congratulations. Any big change throughout history causes angst, right? I'm in my late 50s, so I've been around for a few, but if you look through the history of time, when electricity came out, people freaked out, right? When the car first came out, people thought it was evil, and a lot of people resented and rebelled against getting a car. But if you think about it in a way that every new invention has early adopters, which is about 15 to 18%, and the rest are a little skeptical. Change is hard. I mean, we all say that we can embrace change, but change is the most consistent thing in our life, and it's the thing we truly fight. That inner voice that lives inside all of us says, should we, could we, what if this goes in the wrong direction? Multiply that by something the world has never seen, that's moving faster than anything we've ever seen. We think we're catching up, and a new thing drops, and something else changes, and we should get a Clawbot and get a Mac Mini and do the thing and this thing, and should it be Claude? It should be Anthropic. It should be, Grok, or do I stay on ChatGPT? There's so many things going that it really does cause uncertainty in the inside. So, Tony Robbins and I, my dear partner and friend, we spent 77 years between the two of us trying to find simple ways for people just to see a path through it, right? I went in this business because of Tony 30 years ago. And it doesn't mean we're smarter. We just really look for patterns. We look at patterns in the past. We look at patterns from people who are succeeding now, and we like to share those patterns. So here's one pattern I'd like to share. Those that are moving forward with AI have found a way to first embrace the fear of it. Yes, it's changing. Yes, it's scary, but yes, it's coming. And those that don't use it, we know we can't keep up. If you said, I am not putting electricity in my business, it's evil, you weren't in business a year from now. If you said, the heck with this internet, people are going to know my stuff too much, I am not getting the internet, you're not in business, right? I mean, that's just the way it goes. If you said, no printing presses, you're not in business. And it really is leading to that. And I'm not trying to be the sky is falling. But if you don't embrace AI, there's no way most businesses could keep up. But I think we could frame it. So if we look through the fear mechanism, and then if we look through change, what helps change is, what if we looked at AI as the great human amplifier? What if it made us more human? What if it gave us back time to do the things that we actually have been putting off for years? What if it could eliminate just 25% of the busy work, the mundane, the boring, to allow that creativity that's been lingering inside of you for ages to finally have the chance to come out? What if it was the great equalizer, where now you could have 3 employees with paying hardly anything, where now you don't need to raise money because you have opportunity? Here's what I know. Could the world go in a bad place in it with AI? Of course. It could have gone bad places in a million different things. But if that's what you focus on, it's what you're going to feel in the moment. I would rather say AI is going to help cure cancer. It's going to help people start their businesses. It's going to help people be more productive. And it's going to help people get time back for the things that matter. And if you start with that frame, then I think the lens in which you approach it can be completely different.
Wow, it's really all about perspective. I love that. Like people focus on the negative, but hey, what about these cures? What about this help? And what about the productivity that comes with it? Very inspiring. Now, over the years, Dean, you have shared parts of your story. What stands out is that you didn't really start with advantages that most people would assume that lead to success. So how did your early life experiences really shape the way you think about money, ambition, and kind of what was possible for you in your life?
Uh, so good. And I'll only share enough of my story to give context, just because I think people we can learn from it. We can all grow from it. We all have a story. We all have a backstory. It doesn't matter if you came from privilege or you came from nothing. We all have our stuff. We all face the human condition. So it doesn't make my story better or worse. It's just my unique story. But one of the things that I remember early on is I remember that my parents split when I was 3. We moved a lot. My mother and father were both married many times. I moved 20 times by the time I was 19. But I always remember with my watching my mom um, work 3 jobs to make hardly anything. So it doesn't matter where you live in the world, it's all the same context. My mom would leave in the morning while we were going to school. She'd come home late. My mother cleaned houses, she cut hair, she painted houses, she did whatever she could to support my sister and I. And she came home late with her hands hurting, tired, and did her best. Always with, I could get emotional, always with a smile, never complained once in her life, no matter what that woman went through. And you don't realize these things until you're older sometimes. I retired my mom when I was 25, by the way. She's still alive. And I've sent her a check every week of my life since I was 25 and I'm 57. So 32 years I send my mom a check every week, and it's the greatest gift of my life. It was one of the drivers of why. And I want to tell you, we all need something to push us. We all need something to get the rocket off the ground where the most energy comes out. And sometimes if that's the pain of watching your mother suffer and don't want to replicate that, then use it. But here's an analogy that I don't know when I came up with it, and I didn't come up with it when I was young. But I look back and I realize what sparked it, and I'd love to share it because I think it could really help. If I said to you, "Have you thought about the oxygen in the room you're in?" You'd say, "No, you haven't thought about the oxygen. I'm just breathing. It's abundant. It's everywhere, right?" But if someone put their hand around your throat and restricted your airway, the only thing you would think about is oxygen. You wouldn't care about this interview. You wouldn't care if the cool red logo behind you for your company was there. You wouldn't care how the audio was there. The only thing you would care about is, can I get more oxygen, right? And I know this might sound like a simple analogy, but I realized that there was such a lack of money in my mother and father's life that they were being choked by it. My mom married certain people I know to be safe for the kids. I know we lived in certain areas she'd rather we didn't live. I know we drove a car with the back window busted out for a year, and I made her drop me off down the street from school so the kids wouldn't make fun of me. Like every decision my mom made, she couldn't be there for my baseball practice because she had to work to support us. She was doing the best she could. It's because money was choking her and all other decisions based through that. So when I look back, when people said, "What made you have so much drive and keep pushing forward, even when you failed, when it didn't seem good?" It's like, because I didn't want to replicate that. I wanted to get money out of the way. I wanted to make it like the oxygen in this room, because if you don't think about it, then you think about the other things. You can think about, how do I overcome childhood trauma? How do I face this? How do I finally get intimacy in my relationship? How do I actually finally get a relationship and not pushing it off because of business? When money is out of the way and it's released, it shifts everything. And there was a point in my life when I realized that. And it was probably the number one driving force in my life, right? It probably pushed me to cut firewood in high school, and then started fixing cars. And then I was buying rundown houses and flipping the houses and getting apartments. And I think through all that, and I'll stop here and interrupt me anytime. But one of the big lessons that I think I learned along the way is, because I didn't have resources, but I learned to be resourceful. And I think that's something a lot of you might need to hear today. Maybe you came just to hear that. I know you got a million things you could be thinking about, talking about, but resourcefulness, in my opinion, beats resources every single time. If you have children, would you rather leave your children to be massively resourceful or just a bunch of money? Which one do you think would allow them to live a successful life? And you look through that lens, then you can be proud to say, I might not have the resources right now, but no, he's going to beat my resourcefulness. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, everything you're saying is very, very profound, very insightful, and I think many people do carry the weight of their past along with them. And that's a heavy weight to carry. And it quietly kind of shapes the way they see their opportunities and how they see life for them going forward. Some maybe do stay in that survival mode while others, like you, find a way to move beyond it. How did you personally shift from that survival mindset onto a one that's maybe more focused on growth and expansion?
Yeah, really great question. Um, do you know, and listen, you said when we started, let's make this casual, let's just have fun together.
Right.
But with all the success
Uh,
you've had, you had to do the same thing, right? When you heard that doesn't work, there's too many people in that industry. How are you going to get that person with all the influence to say yes to you? All those things. You face a lot in the invisible that I already know without knowing you. I already know sleepless nights are in the shower. You have a thought, you got to jump out, write it down, right? You might miss certain dates and all those things happen, right? That's just a fact. But we need the thing that we can hang our hat on as the shift of being focusing on what could go wrong or what could go right. And the reason I said that about you is because for me, I'm 57. That voice has not gone away from me. I don't know about you. I still have that voice inside a lot of days going, why are you doing this? Whoa, whoa, whoa. I think you push past your comfort zone. Whoa, whoa. You and Tony are buying this company, doing XYZ. That's not your lane. That voice still lives in me. So I'm asking you, does it still live in you?
it's there. It's there.
Isn't it crazy? Like my partner is Tony Robbins. We talk every day about personal development. We just get done writing a new book. We're going to launch soon. All of this stuff I've learned. But here's what I want to share with you. The voice never goes away, but there's a time and point when you stop listening to it, when you realize that that voice directs you to be like everybody else. Here's what I know. There was a time in my life, I grew up in this little town. I finally started working with my dad with cars, and then he left the collision shop that he had, and I took it over at 19, didn't know what I was doing. And here's what I knew, 19 and a bit naive. I didn't hear no enough. I'd already lived in a trailer park. I had already gone to school without lunch money. I had nothing to lose. And there is something about that situation that crafted something different in my life. So picture this. And again, I've never shared this. So I did start with a collision shop, a body shop. I fixed cars. Somebody wreck a car, I'd fix it. So that was what my dad did, but he couldn't handle it anymore. He left. So I got the keys of the place. I named it Dean Collision Center. What the heck was I doing at 19, 20, trying to figure this out, right? But since I had nothing to lose, I made big, bold moves. I got a loan and bought 2 tow trucks. My father stopped by one day and literally told me, you're going to go bankrupt. That's not how it works. If you can't pay for it with cash, you're going to go bankrupt. And my dad didn't talk to me for almost a year because I bought these 2 tow trucks. I bought them on loans from the bank because I had good credit, but no money, right? I walked into an Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I don't know if you have Enterprise in the States. Enterprise Rent-A-Car is one of the top 3 rental car companies. I walked into a place, literally so naive, and I just said, who fixes your wrecked cars? And they're like, oh, that's part of corporate in a different city, and they do. And I kept asking. I did another phone call. I did a third phone call. You got to understand, there's big collision shops in the big cities. I'm in a little town, Dean Collision Center. I got 3 employees, right? I'm barely getting by, right? I barely got out of high school. I didn't go to college. We're not making millions of dollars. I just kept asking. I just kept being bold. I finally got a guy on the phone and I said to him, listen, I'm a small guy in a small town, but here's the difference. I am hungry for your business. I will make sure I am the best you've ever dealt with. I'll take the problems off your plate. I can do it at a better rate because I don't have a big business. If you believe in somebody, if you believe in the entrepreneurial spirit, I could be your guy. He shook my hand and said, you know what? We'll see. I'm going to have to go to the board. Whatever it was, literally 3 weeks later, he calls and he said, okay, I'm giving you 2 locations. Within 3 years, I had 5 locations, 3 tow trucks, and we were doing $1 million a year just off of Enterprise Rent-A-Car. It changed my life forever. But you know what it did in that moment? It taught me my father never would have bought those tow trucks. I love my dad. He's still alive. He's 90 years old. My dad never would have walked. He goes, Enterprise, he would have had a chip on his shoulder. That's a big company. They use the big guys. They don't care about little guys like us. And it just made me realize that most people are afraid to be bold. And you don't have any competition. There was nobody else walking in. There was nobody else knocking down doors. There was nobody else having the nerve to do it. And I think that stuck with me. You know, when Tony and I started doing virtual events, everybody was doing virtual events with 500 people, 5,000 people seemed like a big one. I called Tony. I'm like, let's do 1 million people. Let's get with the owners of Zoom. Let's daisy chain all the Zoom links together, especially during COVID. Everybody was home. We built this studio. I'm like, we're going for 1 million. We didn't hit 1 million our first time. But the third time we hit 1.1 million. And 2 years later, I did an event with Matthew McConaughey. We had 2.5 million people show up on day 1, right? And everybody's like, oh, how do you do 1 million people? There's a lot. It took me 3 decades to get here. But one of the main reasons, so I was crazy enough to think you could do it. And I don't think that thinking it gets enough credit. And that may be one of the lessons you learn today. Go bigger, add a zero to the end, be more bold, ask for the thing you want. There's something you need to say no to today, you've been thinking about, just say no today. There's something you need to say yes to today. Say yes in this moment today.
So, yeah, because so many people find that they have the knowledge, they have the experience, the expertise, but they really still hesitate to put themselves out there. So, would you say that's probably the most common limiting belief that you find people just aren't bold enough?
Yeah, we talked about it earlier, but we all have that voice.
Hmm.
That survival brain, right? The one that said, "Be careful. Uh, Things could go wrong. Isn't this good enough? Isn't enough enough?" And I think I know it may sound a little repetitive, but I think we have this voice that says, "Hey, hey, 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 what could go wrong?" And that's always going to be there. I think we need to find a way. I don't think I know. We have to switch it to not only what could go wrong, say, but let me stack what could go right. I know that sounds so simple, like, duh, Dean, I'm listening to this or reading this, and that's what you got. Yeah, that's what I got is when my brain tells me that, when that voice has been here, the first thing I do is say, "You've already cost me a lot," and I question it because our brain thinks what could go wrong and what we lost, especially with all the news and all the AI is going to take over the world and all craziness with politics all around the world and wars and all the things. It's easy for the brain to go, no, 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 it's a time to shut down. This is a time to play it safe. It's time to sit on my hands. But what has that ever done for us? If you can find proof that listening to the negative voice enhanced your life, then you should listen to it. My grandmother, when I was 12 years old, talked to me about drugs. You know what she said to me? And she raised me most of my childhood. She said, "Dean, if you could find somebody that does drugs and they're living an incredible life, they have a great marriage, they're making lots of money, then you should do drugs." She goes, "But I wouldn't do them until you find that person." And then for the rest of my life, I just looked at like drug addict struggling, drug addict divorced, drug addict, and I had empathy. This is not lack of empathy, but I recognized the pattern. Drugs, too much alcohol leads to a really difficult life. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that. Right. So if you know that that voice in your head that stopped you before, that made you feel like you aren't enough, you don't know enough, and you can't do this, if that voice made you be happy and feel fulfilled, then great, keep listening. But if not, it's like having an annoying friend who's been barking in your ear forever that doesn't help you. So what else could you do with that voice? What if you started thinking about the times you were brave? You were bold. I guarantee those moments got you to another side. What about thinking instead of what you lost and what you don't have, thinking about what the opportunity is because everybody else is scared? Thinking about what you do have, thinking about how you could adjust it, right? What if you thought that the pain of failure is actually just your preparation for a greater version of you, right? What if you stopped normalizing small and model people who are doing it big? Like the fastest way to the end result, in my opinion, is find somebody who's already done what you want to do and start off where they left off, right? Why create the map if somebody's already been on the journey? And I think those things combined can help shift that voice.
Right. So I guess, in other words, people really have to start seeing themselves a little differently and looking in at oneself before results can really change. But how does someone begin to shift that identity when, as you said, maybe external evidence isn't there yet?
It's a really good point. I think if you find I don't want to go back to the stories, but in most cases, what you believe is what you achieve. If you believe that only the rich get richer, then that's going to be the case, right? Henry Ford said, if you believe you can or believe you can't, that's the answer, right? Not to oversimplify it. But maybe you could, let's go a little deeper on the inner voice. What if there's certain stories that have actually held you back of saying, I'm not enough, I'm too old, I'm too young, I don't have the money? And when that story pops in, you name it and go, oh, that's the I'm broke story. Good one, but not this time. I want to give an answer and it's going to sound like, well, it's talking from a place of certainty now, a place where you have money, you can do it. But here's what I know. The worst thing that could ever happen to any of us is get to the end of our lives and our maker play us a video of the man or the woman we could have been. And I only share that with you because I truly think of those things. And I know you've heard it before. I'm not sharing anything new and revolutionary today. If anything, I'm a reminder service to everybody today. But when I'm in a part of doubt, when the voice on the inside is loud, when I feel my old self is coming out and I wanna have a different identity. I wanna be brave, I wanna be bold, I wanna be an example for my kids. I wanna impact more lives, I wanna serve. I'll grab in the toolbox whatever I can. And sometimes I'll get to the end of my life, I'll visualize the end of my life, whether it's somebody reading my eulogy or me having a conversation with God and my maker say, I gave you free will. I just wish you would have used more of who you were meant to be. I'm sorry you had all those stories stuck in your head. I'm sorry that you played small. This is who you could have been. They play a video and you're like, oh. So what I do to myself is I think, if that happened at the end of my life and I saw this video of someone, even if they failed, wouldn't you love to watch a video of you trying at least trying to get up the mountain and you're sliding back down? You try to get up the mountain, slide back down. You don't want to see the video of you at the bottom of the mountain go, wow, that's a big mountain. You'd be like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Please stop playing that, right? And what I think to myself is, if I was there with my maker and he gave me one wish, I would say, can I go back? Please let me do it again. And in most cases, our wish is already granted. We're here. You're listening to this today. Today's the day you could say, no more standing at the bottom of the mountain staring. Even if I slide, I'm going to climb this thing. Because I think, maybe I quote too much. I did a lot of reading in my life, but I love Dale Carnegie's quote when he said, the biggest plight of the human race is knowing you have more potential, but you're not utilizing it. Whatever it takes to get you leverage to move forward, do it. Even if you got to go the dark side and say, if I leave my life the way it is, I'll end up like my parents. Or if I leave my life the way it is, I'll never find true love. If I leave my life the way it is, I'll never unlock this creativity and give an example of who I'm meant to be. Whatever it takes for you. Get down and dirty just to get the momentum started.
Yeah, I love that analogy you spoke about, like at the end with your maker. You don't want to have regrets, and as you say, I'd rather watch myself try and fail instead of just not trying at all. Like, it reminds me, have you seen the movie Little Miss Sunshine, where she said she feels like a loser for coming second in the competition, and her parents say, no, you're not a loser for coming second, you're a loser if you don't even try. So I was
I
like,
love that.
yeah, take it. And that's just a little kid. But someone who tries a lot and who pushes themselves is clearly you and Tony Robbins. I mean, we got the AI advantage coming up, which is really focused on helping people understand how to use these tools of AI in real life. And through that work, what are some of the most practical ways you're seeing everyday entrepreneurs start using to grow or work smarter?
So when it comes to I think if I was going to give homework, I'll give you the exact homework I shared with my 19-year-old daughter who's growing up in it. The first thing we have to remember, I shared it in open, so I won't repeat myself, but we are the first generation that is going to live without AI and with AI. So give yourself some grace that this is difficult. And we've never had anything move so fast. I use a silly analogy. I kind of used some of them in the beginning. But in the 1800s, if a farmer was going to plant an acre of corn, it took about 40 hours to do by hand. When the tractor came out, the newest technology, the farmer that got the tractor could do the same acre in 30 minutes, from 40 hours to 30 minutes. And if you think about that, the tractor was expensive back then. AI is not expensive. So that's a big differentiator. The second part you got to realize is, think about it. The farmer with the tractor, if you don't have one now that it's out, there's no way you can stay in business. The farmer with the tractor is going to buy your farm or take it over if you don't find a way to get the tractor. So we all know that we have to use it. That's the first part. Change is difficult, like I said earlier, because we're the first generation doing it. Now, with that said, we know we got to find a way. And like anything in life, when you put too many options at once, you have none. If you ever go to a restaurant with a menu this thick, you don't know what to order. If there's 3 things on the menu, you know in 3 seconds. So same thing I told my daughter, same thing we shared at our first AI event. We had 600,000 people show up. Is stop chasing the news. Stop watching all the things that come out. There's no way to keep up. The big companies can't keep up. The smartest people I know can't keep up. I interviewed Tony and I believed were the 50 top AI experts in the world, from Mark Benioff, who owns Salesforce and $40 billion company, down to the mom kicking butt, doing incredible at home, running a extremely profitable business, and everywhere in between. And when you really boil it down, they're not chasing all the tools, even if they have the opportunity to do it. They're going deeper on the one that they use. So here's the suggestion I'd have, and I'd love to have you join the event. No pressure. It's a free event. It's going to be fun. We have some great guests. It's Tony and I. But one of the things we're going to share is a big part that people miss is they're using AI like a fancy Google. It goes deeper. It does better for you, but it's missing context. So let's think of AI, whatever you use, if you use Claude or ChatGPT or Grok, whatever you use. Let's think if it was like an employee. Okay? Really smart employee. You hire a great employee. And let's say you're in video production and you take videos and you turn it into great articles and you have a magazine. Imagine you have a hire day one. They walk in, an A player, and you say, hey, I'd like some new articles, one on the effectiveness of AI in the industry. Could you go write that? Thank you. You might get something decent from somebody smart. Ask that prompt to any one of your A, you might get something decent. It'll be good, but it'll sound like everybody else. But imagine if you spent an hour with that employee and say, hey, I want to tell you why I started this business. We got to remember that when it comes to AI, if you put limited context in, you get limited context out, even though it's smart, and then you're reworking it. The more you teach it about you, your values, your goals, your desires, your constraints, the things that keep you up at night, the things that excite you, the outcomes you want, the more you share, this worked, this didn't work, this email was great, this one doesn't. The more you share, when you ask, it all of a sudden becomes a genius business partner that moves faster, that takes things off your plate, that does it faster, quicker than you. And what I tell everybody, just use it to get you to third base, and then you make it human to take it across the finish line. There's a million different directions, but what I'd say is first, embrace the fear. It's coming. The tractor is here. We have to embrace it. Number two, realize we all hesitate with change. But if we stay the same, we slide. In life, you can't hold on. You're either climbing or you're sliding. So you have to change. Embrace it. And then go deeper on what you have. The fourth thing would be make it a daily habit. Because we're the first generation to use it, you have to literally, I'm looking for something. You used to have like to get a sticky and just put check with AI first and put it on your laptop or put it as a screensaver, because we have to remember there's days. I mean, we're pretty advanced. Our team does some pretty wild stuff. I got an AI assistant. It's unbelievable. And there's days where I'll be working on stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'll just go to my phone and text and go, hey, could you do this thing for me? And in 4 seconds, it's done. I'm like, I have to remember to utilize it. So those 4 or 5 things can really start momentum without all the craziness.
Yeah, it's people talk about the future and AI is the future, but it's here and it has been here. You said people need to really utilize it more, and I'm guilty of it as well. But like you said, it's maybe hard to keep up. You never know if you know enough, and maybe I shouldn't jump in because I'm such a beginner. But yeah, I hear you. But I wanted to ask a phrase you use quite often is that action creates clarity, right? And it sounds so simple, but really a lot of people they still wait until they feel completely ready to start something, and I've been guilty of that. So why do we do that? Why do so many of us hesitate to take that first step in anything from your experience?
I think perfectionism, and we all have it sometimes. I think it is the easiest way. This might sound controversial, but I'm guilty of it. So I'm saying I'm with you. Me too. That perfectionism is really the easiest form of fear that your body can accept, right? So you say, when my husband or my wife is on board with this new business, then I'll do it. Let me talk to her. Let me make sure she's on board or he's on board. And you're waiting for the perfect moment. Let's wait until, the kids are a little young. I want to make sure I'm there with the kids. So let me stay in this career that's truly killing my soul, but I'll stay in it because, I want the kids to be at the perfect time. Well, when they're little, it's tough. I have 4 kids. When they're a little older, it's all the baseball and the dance recitals. That gets busy. And then they get older and start thinking about boyfriends and girlfriends, and you want to be there for that. And it doesn't change. If we realize there is no perfect time, there is no perfect entry point. And our brains will sometimes, we don't say, no, I'm not afraid. I'm just waiting for all these things to be lined up. Yeah, you're afraid. Your brain is just giving you a soft landing. And if you think of that, your brain will start thinking, well, who am I to do that? Right? I need a little more preparation first. Oh my, do you see what's going on in the world? I can't do it now. As soon as these crazy wars are over, as soon as the politics calm down, the world is never going to be perfect. Everybody's never going to line up and go, we're so happy you're going to do the thing that has been in your heart forever. No, it's never. And then you realize sometimes that the mess you're going through in your head is actually the driving force that could get you to move forward. It's finding a depth of courage, right? Courage is different than confidence. Courage is moving forward when you have no proof it's going to work. You just go, it's never going to be perfect. I can't leave my life the way it is. I'm moving now. Because think about with all you've done in your career. Wasn't it the messy parts? Wasn't it the moments of your breakthrough? Wasn't it typically after the most messy parts you had to deal with?
Percent. Those tough
It's
times.
always that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only way through it is through it. The only way you to learn and you get stronger. What do they say? The smoothest stone is in the roughest part of the stream, right? It's like we're waiting for puppies and rainbows and the flowers in the field and the perfect path it's never that way, ever. But on the other side of that is a version of you haven't met yet. And that version of you is dying to come out. And it will only come out by you taking uncomfortable action. It will only come out by you moving forward, even when all the pieces aren't lined up, even when people think you're crazy. And that's the best thing I could say. It isn't easy to live into who you're meant to be, but I have to say it's worth it beyond anything I could ever imagine. Because like we said earlier, you don't want to get to the end of your life with regret. that you missed it.
Not at all. I totally agree. Dean, I wanted to share something my mom used to say to me when I was younger. She said, Mijo, tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you everything about you. And I think now I'm older, I understand. And I think it kind of relates to something you talk about, this idea that proximity is power. You know, the people you surround yourself can really dramatically change or shape your thinking, your opportunities. But for someone who maybe doesn't have access to those high level networks, how do they start changing their environment or how do they do that?
Really great question. Think about, this has been around since the beginning of personal development. Dale Carnegie, Earl Nightingale, Tony Robbins, all of them. You are the sum total, like your mom said, of the 5 people you hang around, right? And some people say this is what I have. So here's a couple of things that I think are really important. There are certain people in your life that are the biggest drainers that you've ever had. Energy drainers, dream drainers, but they might be the closest people to you. It could be parents, it could be a spouse, could be a brother that you have. And I have a friend, Trent Shelton. He's a part of a lot of our events. I love the guy. He said something once or more than once on a podcast that was so powerful. He said, so many times in life, those negative people, they are making an impact on you. Even if you think that it's bouncing off, it's not. It builds, and it builds self-doubt in you. And we can't do anything. Even if we have 10% self-doubt, we don't move forward. We hesitate. We wait to go when you need to move. And sometimes we're waiting for them to have the epiphany of, I see what you're doing. I got your back. This is amazing. You're doing great. We're waiting for that. And what he said, and he's a believer in God, and he said, what if God gave this prescription to me of my bigger future where I'm supposed to be? Like a pair of glasses, he said. This is my prescription. And when I put them on, I see 2020 of the man I can become, the lives I can impact, the success I can have, the father I can become. And it's not staying here. It's being brave and bold and taking uncomfortable action. You see it, you feel it. It's crystal clear to you. You got 2020 vision. But then your dad comes over and you go, Dad, oh my God, I got all this stuff. And you give him your glasses. Did you ever put your glasses on someone else or wear someone else's prescription? You're like, I can't see anything. This is stupid. Why would you do this? It's blurry. It's because God, the universe, whatever you believe, they gave you that dream, gave you that vision. You get to see clear with a 2020 vision. And we're expecting other people to have our same prescription. They're not. So if you do that, then you won't be upset with them. They have different eye lenses. They have different sight. It's just different. And then if you find a way to say, I love this person, but this is what I did forever. This is just personal. I have people in my life that are like that. My father's one of them, and one of my dearest friends since 5th grade is one of them. And I love both of them. I don't bring up anything I'm going after. I don't run it by them. I don't ask them for their advice. I don't tell them when I'm tackling something new. I talk about the stuff they like to talk about. My dad likes talking about when he was younger. I talk to my dad about being younger. My other friend likes to talk about the fishing trips we used to take in our 20s. I just talk about the fishing trips. I'm not going to say, hey, Tony and I are launching an AI company. We're putting tens of millions of dollars in this to help people around the world, and our first event's going to be free. Like, I don't talk about any of that because that advice is not qualified. They don't have my glasses. So that's the first thing. The second thing is what we don't realize is when we have some of those people in our lives, we actually dim our glow, turn down our dreams so they feel more comfortable. Check that. See if you're doing that, and don't dare do that because your subconscious doesn't know. Like, oh, I thought we were going after the big thing. Oh, we're going to play it smaller now? Okay, we're going to play it smaller now. And then you just approach it in that way. So stop dimming your glow. Realize they don't have your prescription. Don't ask for advice for people who are unqualified. And then on this opposite side, stay connected. Join events where like-minded people are. Go to masterminds, go to workshops, listen to podcasts that inspire you, and stop thinking you're the dreamer. Remember this, they don't make statues of critics. They make statues of the dreamers, the crazy ones, the bold ones that they talked about and said it would never work. If that's who you are, and I don't mean crazy radical, if you're just 10% different than the people around you, don't leave that inside. You got to let it out. So find books, find connections, find events that make you realize you're not crazy and spend more time there.
Dean, I'm inspired. You should think about writing a book or something or speaking or helping people with this. No, but speaking about that, looking back across your entire journey, like I said, building businesses, writing best-selling books, and helping millions kind of reshape and rethink what's possible for them in their lives. What would you say is the single belief or mindset that made the greatest difference in your life and what you can pass on to people listening to this or watching?
I would say 2 things. We're all good at ideas and decisions. But and I'm guilty of it too. So please, this is just years of experience. We're good at saying, I'm going to do this. I'm deciding to do this. And execution is where it falls apart. Something gets in your way. Again, the stories we're talking about, the people around you, the timing. So just become someone that never lies to yourself. Now, I have 4 kids. I teach all of them. And listen, I'm the best parent I can be. I'm not saying I'm a magical parent, but one of the things I know stuck with my kids. I said, the biggest person you can lie to is you. Don't say, I'm going to keep my room clean. Dad, I'm going to keep it room. Tell yourself, I'm going to keep my room clean. And then you don't. Because your brain goes, oh, we make decisions, but then we don't actually do it. Build a culture of when I say it, I'm going to do it. And you don't have to say it out loud if you say it to yourself. So number 1 is follow decisions with uncomfortable action. Execution is a fancy word. I just say it's uncomfortable because you probably never did it before. It's going to be uncomfortable, but when you say it, you do it. Don't say I'm going to work out 3 days a week and then work out 2. Don't say I'm going to stop eating bread and drinking soda and then drink soda and eat bread. Your brain just gets used to letting yourself down. Don't let yourself down. Another thing, a couple of moves. 1, when you're thinking of making a move, narrow down the outcome. Don't let it feel so big. Like, I'm going to make this move. I'm going to start this thing. I'm going to go. I heard I'm going to go to the event, or I'm going to teach my AI today to know me better. And then I'll show up at the event or somebody else's and get some training to go deeper, right? That's 1. Know that outcome is the first step. It's not the end result. A lot of times what we do is we talk about, oh, I want to start the business, then I want to do a podcast, I want to do a book, whatever the business is, right? And I want to do this thing over here and this thing over here and this thing over here. And then we have all these outcomes and we don't understand why we're overwhelmed. We got to realize, like Kaizen, what's the definition of Kaizen is 1 consistent step at a time. Like, how do you run a 1,000-mile race? 1 step at a time. How do you eat elephant? 1 bite at a time. I mean, nobody's eating elephants, but you get the point. How do you live into who you're meant to be? 1 narrow outcome at a time that stacks upon, and then have the ability to turn around and look at the accomplishments you achieved, the little ones stacking up. Did you ever see that meme that goes online where it shows like 2 different ladders? And it shows the ladder with the rungs really high, and somebody's jumping to try to get the 1 rung, and the person next to him, he's almost making fun of him because he's going up a ladder with little steps. But the one with little steps is keeping going. He's just jumping, trying to get it. That's how we approach it sometimes. We're looking for the home run. A lot of singles, not to use a sports metaphor, but a lot of singles, a lot of small actions will always outperform someone who's looking to hit it out of the park.
Dean, thank you so much for all this wise knowledge and words. It's been so inspiring to listen to. I really appreciate the time that you've given to us today. I'm going to say some nuggets there, but it's all been fantastic information. Thank you.
Appreciate you. You had some really great questions, and I hope everybody listening, it was worth your time. And listen, lots of changes are coming. Lean into it. We can't stop the change. If you work on the inner game, the outer world will seem a lot easier. And if there's anything we can ever do to help you, let us know.
Thank you. And wise words, the tractor has arrived.
Yeah, exactly.
The tractor's here. Oh, well, Dean, have a fantastic rest of your day. It was a pleasure to chat to you, really. And we'll speak soon.
All right. Thanks, man. See you soon.
That was my conversation with the one and only Dean Graziosi. I really enjoyed this one because, like I said, it was such a powerful reminder that growth doesn't come from waiting for the perfect moment. That clearly doesn't exist. It comes from deciding, it comes from acting and trusting that clarity will meet you along the way. There were so many takeaways, so many strong takeaways in this episode, from Dean's thoughts on AI and entrepreneurship to his perspective on, like I said, courage, identity, and that boldness thing really stuck with me. And also the importance of protecting your vision from the wrong voices. I hope this conversation really left you all feeling inspired and to think bigger and to move faster on the things that, they really matter, and lean into more fully into the person you're capable of becoming. Thank you so much for listening to this. It was a pleasure talking to him. Until the next time, bye-bye. Take care.